now. It's going to go on YouTube.
Looks like we're live. It says we are up in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. We're up.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Borough Council special meeting, our work session, May 26, 2021, 7 p.m. In attendance, we have Ms. Lopez,
Present.
Ms. Simro,
Present.
Solicitor Hayes,
Here.
Mr. Jenkins,
Here.
Mr. Mitchell,
Here.
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Ms. Eho,
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Has not joined yet.
Okay.
Oh, here he is.
Okay. Mr. Shields
Here.
and Junior Counsel, Mr. Thomas.
Present.
First issue on our agenda is our public comment. Virginia, do we have public comments from anyone?
We had none.
Okay, thank you. First item on our agenda is we're going to put this at the end of our meeting. It's Chief Yarns. That's a personnel issue. And at the end of our meeting, we're going to go into executive session. Next item on our agenda is our Chief Yarns drop program. Did you, Virginia, did you want to address this?
Just letting you know that next week we will have to vote to accept the chief's resignation. Again, that does not mean he's leaving. He will continue to work, but under the deferred retirement option plan, which means that he will have a retired status for pension purposes. And he can only work for a maximum of 5 years. So we now know that 5 years and a couple of days from now, Chris will definitely be gone. But beyond that, we will still have him. But so we have to vote to officially accept the resignation next week.
I move that we put it on the agenda for next week.
It will be on the agenda for next week. No
Yeah, we
problem.
don't take any official action.
Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the open bids for 2021 paving.
Yes, we have our paving bids in today. We'll have to vote on them next week. That'll give the engineers a week to review them. We only got 4 bids this time. The first bid is from H&K Group. And okay, their bid is for $441,000. I'm sorry, $441,071.48. Okay, the second bid is from New Enterprise. Their bid is $396,590 even. The next bid is from American Asphalt. Okay. Their bid is $483,525 even. And the last bid is Pensy Supply. And their bid is $442,400. So the apparent low bidder appears to be New Enterprise. We have worked with them in the past, and we've not had any problems. So assuming all the bid specs meet and there's not another issue, we're going to recommend them for next week, but you will get something in writing from the engineer once we make sure that their bid was complete.
And do we have a drop dead date on that too, Virginia?
Yes, it's going to be 90 days from their notice to proceed. That's going to take a good month to get, well, not a month, but it's like 2 to 3 weeks to get all their bid bonds in effect and everything. I'm sorry, their construction bonds and so forth. But definitely by September 30th, worst case scenario.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Virginia. The next
No
item.
problem.
Oh, excuse me. Did somebody else have a comment or?
That was Virginia.
Oh, okay. The next item on our agenda is Resolution 2021-97, our county hazard mitigation plan.
We need to vote on this next week. Want to make sure nobody has any questions or problems before the meeting.
What is the issue? I'm sorry, what did you say?
It's the 2021 Hazard Mitigation Plan. Lackawanna County has worked up a hazard mitigation plan. It's a cooperative plan with all the county communities, municipalities. We have all contributed to the development of the plan. Now we have to officially adopt it. So I would say the plan itself is good. If Kevin didn't have any problem with the verbiage in the resolution, I would think that we would be good to vote on this next week.
Well, the only questions I had, where is the plan? Is it, do we have that posted on our website? Just so
The county has the plan. No, I don't have a copy of it.
so
I can get one on our website.
Yeah, because I think we have to post that if we're going to be voting on it. And
Okay, I'll get it on for next week.
and
Can we have it in time to, pass it out to all the members, and then we can all read it over?
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
and Virginia, this resolution was drafted by the county.
It was supplied by the county, correct.
Okay.
Okay, I will get you copies. Hopefully I'll have them to you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Virginia. The next item on our agenda is our public meeting policy.
Yes. So, Madam President, if I could chime in now. I circulated an email message earlier today, and I've been just kind of sitting back because it seems like it changes day to day. But I can tell you, report to council that on May 17th, the governor issued an amended order which basically stated that effective May 31, which is Memorial Day, the state is going to lift all restrictions with regard to social gatherings in terms of the limitations of the number of people who can be in certain areas and certain spaces. The governor's order does not rescind or lift the mask mandate, and the governor has indicated that that will remain in place until 70% of the Pennsylvanians who are 18 years or older are vaccinated. So these changes are coming as a result of the increase in the number of individuals who are being vaccinated and a decrease in the number of new cases. So with that said, the council can resume public meetings at the Borough building effective next week. The only restriction that would be that would remain in place is that attendees of the meeting would be required to wear masks. Now, I could tell you that court proceedings, and last time we had Scranton City Council, the council had determinations have been made that if the speakers want to, they can remove their mask while they're speaking, so that everyone could clearly hear what they're saying, and that they don't have any impairment while they're speaking. But that's really up to council. So, and the only restrictions in terms of the number of attendees would be the whatever the fire code says as to our occupancy limit levels. So it's, if council would like to resume meetings effective next Wednesday in the Borough building, they're certainly authorized to do so by the state.
Kevin, would council members also have to wear masks?
That's the recommendation, yes.
Okay.
So all
Just so it's clear with everyone.
right. So everyone would wear masks. Everyone would, all the attendees, myself, Virginia, the chief, and Jennifer, and any members of the public would be required to wear masks. Now I could tell you that we had Scranton City Council meeting last night. This was the first one back in Chambers. We had a police officer there, and as we always do, but there was no issues with regard to people challenging us. And last night we did have occupancy restrictions because that's still in place. It wasn't a factor because there wasn't enough people, but I can tell you there wasn't any issues, no challenges, and we'll have the chief there in the event that someone's out of order.
Okay.
I have the understanding that if we're all, at least the way that I thought I read it properly, Kevin, was that if we've all been vaccinated and we're all at the table, it's our option whether we want to have the mask on or off. If, however, we have people in the chamber, then that's another story where we would have the masks on, but I'm not sure at whose option. And then when we're getting ready to speak, then we can remove the mask in order to speak. But that's like, I'm looking at it as being a lot of on and off as far as the mask goes. Plus the fact that if there's somebody who has possibly an asthmatic condition, that it's just going to make it somewhat more difficult for them to get through the balance of the meeting.
So as far as I read it, the mask restriction is still in place for indoor gatherings. Outdoor gatherings, it's no longer in place. I think what they do, there is some leeway if you wouldn't want to allow individuals while speaking to take the mask off, just like so it doesn't interfere with their ability to communicate.
Okay.
But the recommendation, as far as I know, at least from the governor's office, is that you continue to wear masks for indoor activities until further notice.
To continue wearing them inside.
And that's what we did last night at Scranton City
Okay.
Council.
Vaccinations aside.
It's not really a consideration, believe it or not, because we don't have the right or the ability to determine whether someone was vaccinated or not, because we're a public entity.
Okay.
And Kevin, one quick question though.
Sure.
And we're not going to exclude any, like, we don't have to have people like spaced or anything like that in the room, right? So anyone who can, there's going to be issues, any Sunshine Act, people want to be there, they can be there and they can be part of the
Right.
Right.
I mean, I think we're free to impose greater restrictions if we wanted to, but we don't have to. So in other words, you don't have to take people's temperatures, you don't have to impose social distancing, you don't have to. The only thing that is clear is the mask mandate.
Terrific. It's very exciting, and I thought that was well written, and I think it's got the flexibility that to make sure this works well. And I'm sure people are going to be respectful, and it'll go smoothly.
Right, and we can always adjust it as a conditions change. If there's an outbreak locally, then we can come up with a different plan.
I think I saw today as well that Pennsylvania surpassed 70% of adults with at least one shot. Maybe a month away from the mask mandate being lifted, or by the time we get to July, which would be great.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. We'll be on board for that next week. The next item on our agenda is our Benetcon surplus to $72,000. This, Virginia, we've discussed as far as what direction we want to go with that, as far as putting it in our capital reserve. Is there?
We haven't discussed this yet. This just came in earlier this month, but after our last meeting. So I did send an email out to everyone. But again, for those of you that are new, we get surplus checks every year, pretty much. The thing is, we have no clue if we're going to get one, and if so, for how much. So we can't budget for them. So the good news is when they come, it's unbudgeted money. So this is extra money for us to use. So it's up to you guys what you would like to do, whether we put it in capital reserve or use it for specific purposes, whatever you think.
I think it might behoove us to stick it in capital reserves for the time being. We had an issue, I'm going to say a month ago or possibly 2 months ago, where we discussed the upgrading of the cameras for the body cameras, and there was back and forth on whether to go with 4 or 8, and we ended up going with 4, where now we have the situation presenting itself that we can now afford to go with the 4 more. I think maybe that should be something to go before the finance committee after we determine where the money should go. But I think for the moment it should go in capital reserves. And then I think the finance committee and the public safety committee, we need to reevaluate and possibly rethink purchasing the 8 cameras rather than 4 cameras. Because as I said at the last regular meeting, that I felt we needed to buy the cameras all at once so that they would be in tune with each other rather than have them spread a year apart, where you get something that has something more in the line of benefits than the previous camera order. Just something to think about, but I think capital reserves for the moment is the right place to go.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll be voting on that next week then.
Yeah, there's no rush. We're not losing any interest on it here or there, you know. I don't think.
Right. No, that's for sure. The next item on our agenda is the replacement of Harry Jenkins on our ARWA. We've had 2 resumes. We have one from David Jenkins and one from John Pulo. I did talk to Harry Jenkins, and he was very grateful for being put on the ARWA. And I also spoke with Paul Murphy and asked Paul if he had any recommendations. And his recommendation was John Pulo, and John Pulo did send his resume into the borough. So next week we'll be looking at who we're going to replace Harry Jenkins with. So is there any council member that has any questions? Did you see the resume from John Pulo? And Dave, you didn't send a resume in, you just said you had enough.
No, I just have my reputation to go on, Jerry. I was the chairman of the ARWA down there for 8 years. I was secretary for 2 years. I was instrumental in getting the ultraviolet system on board and working, where we eliminated the chlorine situation down there. I was at the initial.
Do you want to put this in writing so that everybody would have it?
Well, I think Virginia has a resume that I have. I don't really keep it updated, Jerry. I just felt that if we were looking for somebody to fill the position,
sure.
I would be more than happy, and I would be pleased to do it while we had time to think over who to put on for a longer period of time. I mean, I know John is your neighbor. You want to get your neighbors and your friends on there. I understand that, but I just felt that my throwing my hat in the ring, it was a better choice. And at the onset, I just felt that it was a better move to go by. But it's up to the council on what direction they want to go.
Okay. What?
Mrs. Carey.
Oh, yes.
I was wondering, is John Poole, is he a newcomer? Has he been involved with anything in the borough in the past, or?
No.
Not that I know of.
Okay, that's great though. He wants to be involved though, so that's exciting.
Yeah, and he does have, he did submit his resume so that, so Dave, when was it that you had stepped down from our, I didn't.
12 years ago.
Okay.
Jerry, what is our process for making a choice here?
Well, I didn't get that, Josh. One more.
I'm just wanting to understand what our process is for making this decision. Is this something we will discuss next week? Will we
Oh, well, hopefully.
speak to Mr. Pulo, or will we just review?
Well, first of all, Mr. Pulo is more than welcome to come in to our council meetings, so everybody would get to meet him. And any questions you want to ask him, we'd be more than happy to answer. So we can invite him to come next week. That would be the favor of council. I think that would be a good idea too, because I think it would give everybody an opportunity to know who we're looking at. We all certainly know Dave Jenkins, and this would give us an opportunity to know John Pulo.
For the record, this Mr. Jenkins was just reappointed, so he's got 4.5 more years. So whoever is taking this term will have 4.5 years on this at this seat. So it's a big deal. But what our procedure is going to be is what you guys decide. We have to accept Mr. Jenkins' resignation,
Right.
and then we have an empty seat until you appoint someone. So how fast you want to act, how slow, whatever, it's all up to you.
Okay, well, would it be the recommendation of council to have John Pulo come in to our meeting so that all council members could meet him?
I think that's a good idea. I'd like to meet him and hear what he has to say.
Okay,
I agree. I think it would be great to invite him to the meeting.
okay, then Virginia, if you would be able to get in touch with
Absolutely.
John, and we'll put him on our agenda for next week.
Absolutely.
And you can let him know we'll put him first on our agenda so we won't hold him up all night.
Okay.
So then what we'll do is a resolution accepting the resignation of Mr. Jenkins, and then
Right.
we'll do a process. I'll outline a process for nominating appointments, and then follow that process. That similar to the appointment of treasurer and the appointment of vacancies on council. With that, if you want that, and that's something we want it to be done next week.
Okay.
So,
Well, we're not going to have a seat filled until we vote on somebody, and we do have to accept Mr. Jenkins' resignation. So I think we should plan it for next week.
okay,
And then if we're not ready to vote, we're not ready to vote, but at least we are planning it.
and we advertised it. Okay.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Next item on our agenda is the request to vacate Grove Street. If you would like to enlighten council on that, Virginia.
I could take that, Virginia.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
So we received correspondence from Mr. and Mrs. Emiliani, who live up on their address is Columbia, but their council sent correspondence which indicated that there is a portion of Grove Street that I guess this would be another situation where we have a paper roadway or paper alley there's some indication that it's, at least they believe it to be the borough's road, or it indicates.
Kevin, could I just interrupt one thing just to make it clear for everyone? The name of this paper alley is Grove Street, but it is not the Grove
Right.
Street that has the school, the administration building, and the library. This is a paper alley that's between Crestwood and Columbia. So if you went and looked, you'd just see trees.
Right.
Okay?
So the long short of it is, there's a process outlined in the borough code for vacating roads, where we would basically relinquish any ownership interest or any claim to roads, and then they could become private property. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Bless you.
But excuse me. Basically, the borough code provides that we have to have a hearing on this petition, and we have to give at least 15 days notice to the petitioner and 15 days notice to the public prior to having that hearing. The thought that Virginia and I had was to use our our June work session for purposes of this proceeding, and to see what the burden is on the petitioner to prove that there's just ground for the vacation. One thing I want to make sure that you understand is that I'll be careful, and we'll all be careful, to not set a precedent with regard to these paper alleys that we are anyway making a legal determination that they are in fact our roadways. I know, because this could, we, as you all know, there's several, there's multiple throughout the borough, and there's been instances over the years where folks had come forward and wanted us to make improvements to those roadways, and it was our position that they weren't our roadways. So that's something that I'm keenly aware of, and we'll be careful to make sure we're not establishing precedent with regard to these paper alleys. Okay.
Kevin, am I incorrect by saying that the area in question is actually somewhat passable to vehicles?
No.
No.
It's totally inaccessible, because as I recall, there was a dirt trail that was up there. And
there is a dirt trail at the bottom off of Crestwood, and I believe somebody uses it to access the back of their property, but that's off of Crestwood. It does not go through to Columbia.
Okay.
The road does on paper, but the alley does not, or the cleared section does not.
But
okay.
So, well, what I'll tell you is that I couldn't see it when I investigated it. I couldn't see anything. But the fact is, it's a petition, so we really shouldn't have any deliberation on it before we have it presented to us. So once it's presented to us, then we can raise all these questions and air them out. Okay, just because it's a formal petition process. But I can tell you, I'm gonna try to do as much independent research on it myself. I drove by it. I didn't see anything except woods.
Okay.
So.
And am I correct in assuming that if you go up Crestwood Avenue and you continue straight up Crestwood, then you would run into the driveway in question that it runs behind? Is that it?
Yes. If you Crestwood ends, and you would be looking at this paper alley. If you were driving from State Street up Crestwood, you'd be looking at this paper alley. In fact, you will see it's been cleared of trees, and there is a driveway there that accesses one of the homes, but the alley itself doesn't exist as an alley.
Okay. I think what I was referring to when I initially brought that up was the roadway that's down behind Bob Cranick's property, across from Bob Cranick's property there.
Yes, that is definitely a paper road, or an actual roadway, even though it's not paved. It's not in the borough, though.
It's not in the borough?
Nope. That is the cul-de-sac is the end of our roadway. That road then continues. It's in
Waverly Township.
Waverly Township, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's what I was thinking, and then I pinpointed Crestwood. So okay, I understand where Kevin's talking about now. Okay, thank you,
Kevin, quick question. So this will be at the next meeting. I guess the Emilianis and their attorney are going to come in front of council. They're going to request that we vacate this paper alley, and then they're going to explain the reasons why we should do that. You said there was a burden of proof on them to, is it?
Right. And I'll circulate what the standard is.
Okay.
Standard of review, so that we can make the best judgment. One thing I think that Virginia and I will be certain to do is that we're required to publish the hearing in the newspaper of general circulation, but I think we should also notify all these folks who are nearby in Columbia and on Crestwood,
post the neighborhood,
who would be impacted yeah, I guess Waverly potentially too, just to make sure that they, there's nothing we're missing here in terms of their interests.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
this question can also be for Ms. Kehoe. I remember us discussing paper alleys in one of our prior meetings, but who exactly controls the paper alleys in the borough?
We do.
I thought
I'll punt that
you
one.
said that we don't really.
Yeah,
You see what happened, Ron, is that a lot of times when these subdivisions, a lot of the neighborhoods of Clark Summit were privately developed as subdivisions, and when the plans were submitted to the borough, there was roadways identified on those subdivisions which were really never developed, and there was never houses placed on them.
Okay.
So when you look at them, when you look at the official records in the Recorder of Deeds office, you're going to see roadways that don't exist in reality, but they're paper alleys in that they are on paper. So it's a little bit of a complex issue, correct, Virginia?
yeah, these are typically like in a subdivision today, we get deeds for all the roadways that are given to us in the subdivision. But we're talking about subdivisions that took place 100 years ago, and this land was never deeded to us. We also have never maintained it, never used it, never treated it like a public right-of-way. We've ignored it. So the question of who legally owns it is really a big blur, and I'm here 16 years. This has been a discussion that we've had for 16 years. Some of the homeowners throughout the community have tried to do like a quick claim and at least take part of the alley that abuts their property as their property. And anybody that's tried has been able to successful on it. But we don't want to accept ownership on something that is not developed, should not be developed, and has trees, because all of a sudden our expenses are going to be huge trying to maintain all those trees in there.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question, though. I had the same question
Thank you.
3 years ago when I started this job. What the heck is the paper now?
And you still don't have an answer.
No.
No.
We'll have that on our agenda for next week then. The next item is the no parking on Claremont. Virginia, if you'd like to enlighten us on that.
Yes. 107 Claremont is having an issue with stormwater. Probably it's happening tonight because it's storming out right now. Right. They're having a problem where stormwater, even though we have a curb on the road, there's been one spot on the road where if a car is parked there and has their tires turned into the curb, the water follows the angle of their tires, hops the curb, and goes right into the 107's basement. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's perfectly legal for a car to be parked there, and there is 90% of the time a car parked there. So this has become a continuous problem. The only solution that we can come up with for that homeowner, because we've already built up the curb, you can only go so far with curbs before you have a wall. The solution that the DPW came up with, and it's the best option I can think of, is to just take that 15, 20-foot spot and make it a no parking zone. So people can park above it or below it, but in that one specific spot where the angling is just right, we just don't have cars there, and then we don't have this problem.
So that sounds great. I assume the homeowner's involved. Like that's what they want, right?
The homeowner that's being flooded is asked us to come up with some kind of remediation problem.
Yeah, so they wouldn't have a problem about losing a parking space in front of their house, would they?
No. Well, it would be kind of above their house. So the thing is, I would want to notify the homeowner above them because it would impact them somewhat too. It's kind of the space between the two houses. So, the one definitely wouldn't mind. The other one, I'll let them know. But I don't even, unless council's interested, I don't even want to pursue it.
Who lives at 107?
She died. It's the son is trying to clean up the house and sell it. But she was in a nursing home for the past couple of years, and I've been hearing about it from the son for the past couple of years. And
Do we have a last name?
I can get it for you in a moment.
Okay.
What street is it, Virginia? Crest?
Claremont.
Claremont.
Across from Young's Funeral Home.
Yeah.
107
107 Claremont is, oh, shoot. It's not there. Hang on a second. Oh, I know why. Holmes, Holmes.
Say that again.
Holmes, Holmes.
All right. Did she just recently pass away?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. Okay. If it's a recommendation of the DPW in order to eliminate the issue or the problem, I see no problem with putting it on the agenda for next week, and then we can officially talk about it again if we need to, or just recommend to do it. And then do we need to have an ordinance for that? That's something that
Yeah, it'll have to be an ordinance. One thing that I think, we're gonna have to, there's a law office right next door. So we'll be taking away that parking for that business.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to contact the people, the neighbors, and let them know.
Yes.
I'll send a letter out tomorrow.
Does the law office have a parking lot? Or is it just parking on the street?
Has a driveway. That's
a
It's
driveway.
a house converted to a law office. It's Drew Christian.
Oh, okay. But there's a driveway there, like there is a space to park there?
Yeah, maybe he has parking in the back of the building, but he has a 15-minute parking spot in front of his building, and then a driveway, but like a residential driveway, really.
And is that right where we'd be putting that? No parking is right in front of the law office there?
What number is he located at, Kevin? Because
105.
I thought yeah, he's down below. We're talking about between 107 and 109, I think.
Okay, so
113.
Okay, so you wouldn't start till after 107?
It would be correct. Uphill, right, from State Street, you're going uphill. So it would be 113, between 107 and 113.
Okay.
Okay.
It wouldn't be advantageous for us to put a storm grate there, a storm sewer?
The issue is that there is nowhere to run the stormwater to. There is no storm lines on State Street down below that. So if we put in storm lines on Claremont, they would dead end.
Okay.
So we can't. We're using the curbs and swales to direct the water. Ultimately, we're going to have to arrange for stormwater on State Street and then put stormwater on this road. But a storm drain right now would do nothing. There's nothing to do with it.
Yeah. All right. So that would be something for the future.
Right.
Okay.
So if you guys want to talk about this further, I can send a letter out tomorrow to the neighbors, letting them know that we're considering this and getting input on it before we make any decisions about moving forward. Sound good?
Yeah, I think that would be the right thing to do.
Okay.
That's fine, Virginia. Thank you. And
Sure.
Next item on our agenda is the city market for the PLCB license transfer. That's where the convenient is. That's the city market now, though, right, Virginia?
This is just a matter of formality, isn't it, Kevin?
Let me pull it up.
No, what I know is that if a license is being transferred from an outside of our community into our community, we have to be willing to accept it and have a public hearing.
Yes.
We have not received any request for this, but we've received notification from the county that it's happening, or from the PLCB that it's happening. So I think Kevin needs to look into this and make sure that whatever actions need to be taken are.
Virginia's
Then why don't we table this until we get formal requests from the city market?
I don't think
We did have
didn't we?
We had the owners months
Too
ago.
many people talking.
Pretty sure.
Virginia, remember we had the hearing, this was during Zoom, Kevin Smith presented on behalf of Blue Wasabi, or I'm transferring the license from Blue Wasabi to City.
Was that Blue was, I mean, that was so long ago. Is this not a new request? This is that old one?
I think so.
I can't believe it took that long to get this done.
I know, that's why I keep and Blue Wasabi was open until less than a year ago.
That was almost 2 years ago, wasn't it?
No, it was last summer.
Yeah,
It was 8 months ago, 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, I remember we did it while we did it last June.
It takes some time to do a license or a liquor license transfer. You have to get clearances from Department of Labor and Industry, Revenue, all pay taxes, and they have to do investigations on the new owner. So I would imagine with COVID, it could take a little bit of time to get that all done.
Right, all the state offices are closed. Everybody's working remotely in the state, so that could have.
Okay, so back to my initial question, then this is just a matter of formality that we approve it?
No, I don't think we have to approve anything. I think they're just giving us notification. Right? We already.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was the same one. I didn't realize it because that was so long ago.
Well, that's what I thought.
All right, so then there's nothing to do on that. Good.
I'll confirm that with their lawyer.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is to review our June 2nd agenda. But if nobody has any questions on that agenda, we're going to recess and go into executive session with our chief.
Are we going to recess or adjourn? Because we're not voting tonight anyway. So why don't we just adjourn for tonight?
We can do that, absolutely. Is that Kevin?
That's fine. Yeah, we're not taking, this is just a work session, so we don't have to do anything formal like that.
Okay.
So
good.
Kevin,
I just have
you
one
just need to
question,
shut off
Ms. Carey.
YouTube.
I'm going to do that, yep.
Okay.
Are we in agreement that
Ms. Carey, I just had one question.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin.
No, that's fine. My only question is, are we going off YouTube now?
Is your question, Ron, something that's for the public record?
So Ron, for executive session, you won't have privileges. You won't be covered by our blanket of privilege.
Okay.
So you'd have to be excused. Is that what you're going to ask?
Okay. No, I was actually just going to ask about the position that was being filled for next week that we're going to discuss.
Oh,
I didn't know
know
what the position was. I think I missed that.
I don't think that there's there's anything to discuss in the public yet about that.
Okay.
No, I think it's the position on the sewer authority board. Is that what you're asking about, Ron?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes, I just missed what the name of the position was.
Clark Summit gets to appoint a member to the Abington Regional Wastewater Authority, and that's the representative for Clark Summit is resigning, and so the Borough Council has to select someone to fill that vacancy.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ron. Okay, so after.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we're gonna recess to executive session. I'm gonna go off YouTube.
And Ron, we'll talk to you next week.